All right, y'all. Here we are. If you've been following along here, this is lesson 5 of this course that I'm building out. But if you haven't been following along, it really doesn't matter. We're still going to get into some hot and heavy shit today. And today really feels like this big turning point in what we've been going through, this process that we've been going through of essentially like building out this program for life. And honestly, like I'm learning just as much going through this process as I feel like whoever's listening and or watching and tuning into this process might be learning from this process. Because and again, this is part of the reason why I'm doing this, as I'm going through this process, I'm also learning how to take all of these things that I've kind of been just doing intuitively in ways that have worked for me, and then being able to transmit them in ways that other people can pick up and that are simple to follow along with. So this week we are really kind of getting into the specifics. You know, we spent the last several weeks really going down into like the big picture and things that are definitely important, because you need to have the foundation of why we're even doing the things that we're doing for this all to make sense. But ultimately, like as I was saying, we're building this program for life, and I've been trying to figure out ways to simply describe this process to people, because it's literally fucking everything. Like, and I say that to people and they're like, oh, okay, really? Oh, okay, man. Oh yeah, sounds good, bro. But like literally, this is fucking everything. And I get it, dude. Nobody's gonna, and this little thing for you to just ride home with is like, nobody's gonna give a shit about your vision and what you see as much as you do. And it can be discouraging sometimes, because you'll see the big picture and like you'll see how fucking amazing and like how big and how important and how revolutionary and how pioneering and just really how transformative this whole thing can be. Like you'll see that picture, and it's up to you to be that visionary, because somebody has to be brave enough and have the courage enough and have the trust enough within themselves to allow themselves to dream that big. Just like we've been talking about when it comes to your own life, of giving yourself permission to not just look into the future from the same limitations and the same circumstances that you're looking at the present with, but to be able to let all of that shit go. And, an exercise that can be helpful is, instead of looking from where you're at now out into the future, you're looking at the future. You're looking from the future. You're taking yourself and you're putting yourself into the future and then looking back now. And it's like you're literally doing the same thing, but just that little bit of perspective shift can be huge. Because when you're looking from the present, you're looking from your current lens. If I imagine right now, I'm looking out at the sunset, and like I'm standing on the shore and I'm looking out at the sunset, and I'm kind of seeing the horizon. I see the sun, and it's like, that's my vantage point. And so from my current perspective, from my current point of view, I am looking out at the horizon. I'm looking out into the future. I'm looking out at the dream. I'm looking out at the sunset. But that's just one view. And again, from that view, a lot of times we color it with our current circumstances, with our current limitations and what we believe is possible for ourselves, and all of those things that can get in the way of really allowing ourselves to dream big. Because if you think of yourself as somebody that's like fat and out of shape, or you're a failure, or you're not good at that, or you can't do this, or whatever that might be, and then you look into the future, you end up, sometimes we just do this unconsciously. We don't even realize we're doing it, but we end up limiting ourselves from our current perspective. So if you feel like you're not capable of doing something now, you'll project that into the future, and the things that you dream about, you'll also be dreaming about yourself not being able to do that thing. So you have to be able to come from this place of letting all that shit go and put yourself in the future and eliminate any kind of limitation, any kind of ideas, which, even this process in itself, you have to, which is why, like literally why we've gone through what we've gone through to get to this point, is even this process, you have to realize that your potential is limitless. And like you are only limited by the beliefs in which you limit yourself with. And you get to choose the things that you believe in. And therefore you get to choose what your potential is. It's that fucking simple. Okay. But, again, you have to learn how to ask the right questions. And a lot of times if you don't have the information because you haven't allowed yourself to look at things from different angles and think holistically about things, then you're still going to project that and you're still going to be limited by that. And like, honestly, this is one of the reasons why I study so much, is not so much to gain new information as it is to just see all of these different perspectives and learn how to ask better and better and better and better questions. Because I'm going to say this over and over and over again, but it's so important. The answers that you receive are implicit. They're already within the questions that you ask. So, just like if I ask the question, what is 2 plus 2? That's a question that's begging for an answer, but the way that I ask that question already implies the answer. Now, what if I asked a different question? What if I said, can 2 plus 2 equal something else besides 4? Okay. Now it's a different question, same kinds of information, but that's a different question that's going to lead to a different answer. And again, if you automatically make the assumption and leave no room for possibility that 2 plus 2 can equal anything else besides 4, then you won't allow yourself to ask that other question. Can 2 plus 2 equal something else besides 4? Okay. And just as an example, what if what is this 2 plus 2 referring to? What if you're talking about people? What if you said, okay, 2, so you've got a man and a woman, plus 2, another man and a woman, equal 4. But then what if those two men and women, those two pairs of men and women, they have babies and they have multiple babies? So now this 2 plus 2 can damn near equal 10 easily if they choose to have multiple babies. So there you can see there's a possibility for something different. That's really the main point I'm working to drive home here. Okay. So per usual, I always feel like I hop on here and I'm just going to get right into it, but I just let myself flow because that's the fun of this. So what we've got to do today with that prelude is we are now going to start to get into the specific things of how to build this program out. So last one, and again, like you really, even though you don't necessarily need to follow along because I'm still going to be like, I'm still spitting. I'm still going to be dropping shit in here that can be valuable, kind of like a TV series where, you could pick it up anywhere and, you can start to kind of fill in the blanks and get the gist and, still follow along and still enjoy the show. But it is very helpful to start from episode 1. So that you can see how things are continuing to develop, how the characters are developing, how the whole plot, how the whole story is developing, and how all these pieces come together, especially as you kind of get later and later into this. So yes, I do invite you and I do recommend going back to number 1, but either way, do what the fuck you want. Here it is. So last time we talked about the 4 doctors and really getting clear on what it means to just have a foundation of health for yourself. Because even one of the prerequisites to asking better questions and to really start to implement this plan for your life, for your entire life, like literally everything that you can think of, the way that I'm building this, everything that you can think of when it comes to creating the life that you want to live can be put into this plan. You know, people, they follow diet plans, they follow workout plans, they follow financial plans, they follow all these different kinds of designs and plans. But my contribution to this is to be able to create a plan that includes and has the potential to include all the plans. So it's like this foundational plan that is able to help you put all of the pieces into the puzzle in the right way to create this big masterpiece of the picture of the life that you want to live. But the prerequisite to that is you have to be healthy. You have to have a prerequisite of health, because as we talked about last time, the accumulation of stress in your body and in just the overall system, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that's going to add up. And if you're already on edge and like you're just living your life in survival mode, you're living your life out of reaction, you're living your life out of fear, which I would venture to say is like probably more than 90% of the population of the planet. Like our collective state of awareness is coming from this place of fear and unworthiness and insecurity and, you know, overall just trying to survive. You know, like the same system that is built in to get us to run away from a lion or to fight or to just freeze, that fight or flight or freeze system is still within us and very active today. You know, evolution, you know, happens at a relatively slow pace, even though things can have the potential to happen like instantaneously. Like your ability to shift your idea about what is possible can shift instantaneously. There's always the potential, okay? And now it's on the top of my mind, so I'm going to give you this quick little drill here, and then we'll really start getting into this. And this all ties together, okay? So if you got a coin, now in my hand, if you're watching the video, I'm holding like my imaginary coin. You know what? Actually, I have it right here. I'm going to pull it out and get this. I received this through my studies with the Czech Institute, which I highly recommend, by the way. Very, like that was probably one of the first places where this whole idea of how to integrate all of these different things in a holistic way and ultimately just learning how to think about things in a big picture is one of the biggest things I got through my studies with the Czech Institute. But here's this coin. So you can see that. So it's got a positive side, or this is the negative side, kind of, you can call it the yin. And then on the other side, there's a positive side. You can call that yang, okay? And then you can see it's a pretty thick coin. Like it's got some weight to it. I like it. So what you can do, this is called flipping the coin drill. And it is helpful to have something tangible that you can actually move, because and a little tidbit for you, when you are working with very like mental concepts in your mind, it's helpful to have some way to bring that out and to have some kind of physical manifestation of the ideas, even if it's as simple as just writing down your thoughts. Like that act of physically writing down your thoughts is an act of taking this mental ideas, taking things from the mental world, the mental realm, and bringing them into physical manifestation. And it's very powerful, even if you're just repeating the same things that you're thinking. So doing something like this, so for instance, the way that you can use this coin, or at least one way, is you can look at your thoughts. And so if you're and a prerequisite to even that is learning how to become aware of your thoughts and realizing that your thoughts are not you. You know, you witness the thoughts. Think of the brain, think of your mind as like a radio that has an antenna and it is receiving information. So it's like your mind is like an antenna, and so it's constantly, receiving all this information, but it's very specifically tuned to a certain frequency. And so being tuned to that frequency, it's picking up everything that is coming through at that frequency. And the cool thing, you can change your frequency. You can even expand your frequency. But, if you've ever had any experience with like psychedelics, what those do is they basically they open up the bandwidth of the frequency. They open up the communication line, so you receive a lot more information. And basically you receive all the information that maybe you're previously, that you're in your normal state, you're unconscious of, but that is already there. With a psychedelic experience, you kind of open yourself up to receiving more of the information that is already there. But either way, that's a helpful way to think about how the brain works, how your mind works, and receiving information. And then kind of like you just become conscious of a tiny little bandwidth of information. And then you've heard the concept probably of the iceberg, and how your conscious awareness is only just the tip of the iceberg, when in reality 90% of the information, 90% of what is there all the time is underneath the surface. Or like I've heard another analogy, which is like a page in a book, where the entire page of text might be all of the information. And now that I'm thinking of it, maybe the analogy was a whole book. But either way, it's like the page, the text is like all the information, but what you're physically aware of is maybe just one line of that at a time. And just like when you're thinking about things, you can really only think about like one thing at a time. And again, just become aware of it. So this is where meditation comes in, and just having a practice of being able to just sit with yourself and learn how to become more objectively aware of your subjective experience. And one of the definitions of your own expansion of awareness is what was previously subjective is now objective. So what in subjective means like it's just your experience. So it's just like you don't have a way to look at it because it's just your experience. Like if you just look, like if you're able to actually turn your eyes around inside of your body and look inside of your body, you don't really, it's just kind of your experience. You don't necessarily feel it, even though it's there. So as you grow your awareness, like think about your heart. You kind of feel your heartbeat, but do you really feel like, maybe if you're in pain or there's some discomfort, you feel your intestines and you feel your organs, and there's kind of a feeling of pain or discomfort. But if everything's functioning properly, like you don't feel what's going on. It just kind of happens, And so as you grow your awareness, you actually can become more and more aware of everything that is going on. But either way, like through meditation, there's many different practices, even like just journaling. There's, you have to find what works for you. You can become more aware of what's already going on. All right. And in so doing, you gain access to be able to ask better questions, because you can see and you can start to ask, if you see a thought come across your mind, you're like, okay, I see that thought. Whereas before, maybe you didn't even recognize that it was a thought because it's just you talking to yourself. It's just, you're having your normal experience, and you just identify you with all your ideas of your thoughts and all the ideas that you have about who you think you are. But as you start to see that objectively, you see, oh, these are just ideas about who I think I am. And another kind of exercise when it comes to meditation is like, when you start to recognize the thoughts, ask yourself who or what is seeing the thoughts. How do I know that I am aware of these thoughts? What is aware of these thoughts? And you can keep going down that path, because you see, oh, like there's an awareness that is aware of the thoughts. And then now you're aware of that awareness. And now you can ask, who is aware of the awareness? And it's like, what is watching? Like a watcher on a hill. It's like, okay, the watcher, the lifeguard in the lifeguard tower sees everything that's going on. But then it's like, once you see that there's the lifeguard in the lifeguard tower, who is aware of the lifeguard in the lifeguard tower? So a little deeper concepts, but like, again, meditate on this, like go move into that, experience this. This isn't, these are ideas to, this is fingers pointing to the moon. Don't mistake the finger for the thing that it's pointing at. These are ideas trying to point you back to yourself. So like go into yourself, move into your body and experience all these different things because you have that potential. You can move in and ask yourself, what does my heart feel like right now? And move your awareness into that because, we're so used to having our awareness like right between, people ask, where do you think from? And everybody points to their head, but this is just one place of awareness. And you can actually learn how to move that awareness around your body. Just practice it. Just try it out. That's all I'm asking. Just try it out. Okay. So coming back to this coin. So when you notice your thoughts, you can ask yourself, like if you notice a thought that's like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can never do that, that would be kind of like a negative thought. But, there's not really such thing as like negative and a positive, like it's not good, right, wrong, good or bad judgment kind of thing. You're just noticing, okay, that was like a negatively oriented thought. That was a thought that's leading me away from my true potential is another way you can look at it. So with this coin, you can say, well, the potential always exists. So just as much as there's a potential for a negatively oriented thought, there's a potential for a positively oriented thought. And so you can ask yourself, well, what would that be now? So so let's say, for example, I'm fat and I'm out of shape. And what's on the positive side of that? Well, maybe you can't just right off the bat say, no, I'm in shape and I feel great, because that doesn't feel true to you. But you can say, well, I am working on bettering myself. That is a true statement. And that is something that's positive that you can move into. And all we did was just shift the thought. But what you focus on grows. If you're always focusing on I'm fat and out of shape, you're always going to get that. But if you change the thought, I'm working on bettering myself, that's going to become more true the more that you focus on that thought and put energy into it. And at the very least, you have a potential. I have the potential to be better. You do. You have the potential. We all do. So at the very least, you can lean into that. But the point is, you have choices. You're not stuck. You have choices. You always have a choice. And doing nothing is still a fucking choice. You get to make that choice. Okay? It's a big point. All right? So now that we've gone through that, I showed you this little drill. It's called the coin flip drill, or the coin flip technique. I learned this from studying Paul Chek and his teachings. Okay? Checkinstitute.com if you want to check all that stuff out. There's a lot of good stuff in there. So what we've got to do now is we've got to take all these things, like the 4 doctors, which is like the foundation, the 4 pillars of your health: Dr. Happy, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, Dr. Diet, or just happiness, quiet, diet, movement. We've got to take these 4 different key fundamental areas. And last time we went through, and if you're following the course, which is a separate thing outside of this, which I highly recommend, either go to the website, or I'm sure there's a link somewhere. We'll figure all that out. But go sign up for the course, because then the course is where I break this down step by step. So you need to figure out, okay, what's the core values, my core non-negotiable values around my 4 doctors, around what it means to just take care of me. Because you can only give what you've been able to give to yourself. So you need to take care of yourself so you can actually come from a place of abundance and health, seeking more health. And then from there, we can start to actually build out what a week looks like. So we can break down what I like to do. And, I kind of walk you through this process right now is get a piece of paper and write down like 1 through 7, or Monday through Sunday, however you want to do that. But, create a space for each day of the week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns down the line. And then within each one, you're going to take what you did with your 4 doctors and you're going to fill in where these different areas fit. So you might say, let's say we start with Dr. Quiet. We're like, okay, when am I sleeping during this time? Because again, we're so used to We have our obligations and our responsibilities to things that we feel like we're, tied into and don't really have that much control to fix or to do anything about. We get tied up into that. And therefore, we make decisions from that. And we basically will schedule our work first. We schedule all the things that we do for other people first, and then we get to ourselves as an afterthought. But what needs to happen is you got to flip that. You need to take care of you first. Do what you need to do to be the best you first, because everything else you do is going to be an extension of you. Get that through your head. Everything you do is an extension of you. So to the extent that you're not the best you that you can be, that is what you're going to put out into the world. If you feel like shit, if you're stressed out, if you're sick, if you're unhealthy, if you're injured, if you're constantly in survival mode, if you feel insecure about everything, every action, all your thoughts, all your behaviors, how you interact with people, the work that you do, the things that you create, they're all likely, because there's a way to kind of bypass all this shit, but we're not going to get into that. They are very likely going to be an extension of that, coming from that place. So you have to be the best you that you can be, so that everything you do is going to be an extension of that. So that's why you have to schedule yourself first. Schedule yourself first. Schedule yourself first. Schedule yourself first. Okay? So you go through each day. It's like, okay, when am I going to sleep ideally? When am I going to wake up? What is my daily spiritual practice? You're going to schedule all these things in where it makes sense for you. And again, the biggest thing is like, create these ideals, but also be realistic, because this is something that you can kind of continue to revisit once you learn how to do it. So maybe, you can't commit to an hour meditation practice like you feel like you really want to, but you got 5 minutes. I know you fucking got 5 minutes. Everybody's got 5 minutes. And, I can prove it to you just looking at your fucking screen time. Okay. You've got 5 minutes. So even if it's 5 minutes, whatever that is, even if it's 3 minutes, even if it's fucking 30 seconds, it's just doing the action consistently is the most important part. Doing the action consistently is the most important part. Doing the action consistently is the most important part. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 hour long or if it's 30 seconds long. The key thing is that it's getting done. So you schedule all of those things in first. So that's Dr. Quiet, which is basically like, when am I going to bed? When am I waking up? When am I taking time for myself to just be? Meditation, journaling, walking, whatever that might be for you. Schedule that in. And then you go to Dr. Diet. So Dr. Diet's like, okay, when am I going to eat throughout the day? What do I want my kind of meal times to be? When am I going shopping? When am I going to meal prep? Or am I gonna outsource these things? Am I gonna, rely on another service? But either way, you need to get specific on what that looks like and when that is happening. Okay. So you schedule, okay, maybe I'm going grocery shopping on Tuesday and I'm going to go grocery shopping on Saturday. I'm going to do meal prepping on Monday and I'm going to do meal prepping on Friday. Whatever that looks like for you, block out that time. Because you go through this process, you will never have a fucking excuse that I couldn't do it, I didn't have time, because you scheduled this first. This is the most important shit. This is the most important shit. This is the most important shit. Okay? And then you go to Dr. Movement. When am I exercising? When am I moving my body? How many times per week? What does that look like for me? Schedule it the fuck in first. Okay? And now I get it. Yeah, you might have like a 9-to-5 job, so you might have to leave that period blank for you. Or you might have to kind of fill that in to know, okay, obviously I'm working here, but maybe you got a lunch break. Like, there's so many different opportunities. Because you literally have, 24 times 7, that's 140. What am I thinking of? 4 times 7, 54 hours? I don't know. You got to check the math on that. You got 154 hours during the week. You're sleeping probably a third of that. But either way, like, even 40-hour job isn't that much. But the problem is you get so fucking drained that if you're doing some shit that you don't like to do, that even working 3 hours can be exhausting. I'm going to restart this video. And so you have to, and that's where, we're not going to get into this today, but also looking at what am I actually doing? Am I at this job that I hate that is draining me? But even just the extension, even if you are still at that job, as you start to implement all of these different things, you're going to start to feel better. Okay. And so lastly was the Dr. Happiness, which honestly is like one of the most important things. So what are you doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis that is just for you, that makes you feel good, that maybe it's not productive, it's not moving you towards, anything, productive or a big goal or whatever, but this is shit that just makes me feel good, that I do for me. And you schedule that in. Schedule it in. Prioritize yourself first, okay? And once you do that, you'll able to see through the week, this is when I'm taking care of myself. And then you commit to that schedule in the same way that you commit to your work in the same way. You don't say like, oh, I didn't get to it today, and you just don't go to work. Like, you have that scheduled in and you fucking make it happen because that is a priority for you. And it's the same way that you have to treat, and even more so than your fucking job that you hate, doing the shit that's going to be good for you. It's this appointment that you cannot miss. It's non-negotiable. And that's the important thing that I talked about last time. These things are non-negotiable. It's shit that you don't miss. You make an appointment that you've had to set up a year in advance, and the day has come and time's come, like, you're going to figure out how to make it happen because you made that commitment. And this is why it's helpful to, and for me, why it's helpful to work with the coach isn't so much to tell you what to do, because I'm doing that right now. I'm telling you exactly what to do. It's more so having that accountability and having that feedback and having that mentorship through the process. Because it's one thing when you tell yourself you're going to do something, but it's another thing when you tell somebody else you're going to do something. Because a lot of times, most of us will do more for somebody else than we'll do for ourselves. So if we tell somebody else we're going to do something, we're more likely to do that thing than if we just keep it to ourselves. So even if you are just doing this by yourself, like, share it with somebody, share it with your significant other, share it with, a friend or whatever that looks like, but share it so that you can hold yourself accountable, because now you know that you told somebody else what you're doing and what you're up to. Okay. So that's really the big thing for this place where we're at right now, is we're going to create a schedule for your week, and we're going to start to fill this out. And for a lot of people, and for me for a long time, like, just this process in itself changed the fucking game. Okay. And it was huge. But as you'll see, it's like, this is really just step one. And like, we're really going to start building this shit out, and it's going to be amazing. Like, I wish I could describe it to you, but you'll have to go through this process with me. Okay. So that is what my invitation for you is today. Look at your 4 doctors. Figure out, the non-negotiables in each one of your 4 doctors: Dr. Happiness, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, Dr. Movement. If you need some help with that, go check out the free course. And from there, we're going to schedule that into your week schedule. And this is kind of like your ideal, your normal week. We're going to schedule that in. Okay. And again, if you need help with this, I'll show you exactly how to do it. I'll walk you through it step by step on the free course. Okay. So I hope to see you there. If not, just keep tuning in. I don't give a fuck. Do what you want. But yeah, man, always a pleasure sharing with you. And thank you for tuning in. And I look forward to sharing more with you again soon. I'll see you soon. The journey is the way, y'all. Don't forget it. Peace.